Chapter 4. Divided we fall. The next day Jack meets Hal on the bench in front of the building, as usual. "Hey, you know what I heard? I heard the boy that was running that FM gang I was telling you about the other day, got himself pretty cut up." "What do you mean, cut up?" asks Jack. "Well, the way I heard it, he was jumped by an uptown gang, and they cut him good, almost ear to ear. He just made it to the hospital in time. They had to give him a couple of pints to save him." "Too bad," answers Hal. "What do you mean? Too bad? They shoulda let the son of a bitch die." "That's what I mean," Hal replies sternly, "them going around, taking advantage of everybody, like they do. Especially the old people like us." "Is he still in the hospital?" "Not from what I hear. Couple people said they seen him walking around. That gang kinda stopped collecting those dues for a week or so while he was gone, but from what I heard, they're right back at it again, now." "Do you know what he looks like?" asks Jack. "Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times. He's a young guy, probably about 25, and big. Gotta be 250, maybe. He's got long dreads, and an FM tat, right on his neck. Why do you want to know?" "Just wondering," replies Jack. He is sure that the man of the rumor is actually the one in Mrs. Murray's closet. Why they concocted the story about him being jumped by a rival gang, who knows? But it certainly shows they have no idea what really happened to him, and that's good. Of course, how could they know? He muses to himself with a feeling of self-satisfaction. As far as it goes for people having seen him, Jack knows it is impossible. Their supposed observations must be the result of rumor mongering, hallucination, or both. He turns back to Hal. "Did they ever come to get dues from you, Hal?" "Not yet, but I think they're comin'. They're kinda working their way down the block, from buildin' to buildin'. They haven't got to mine yet. I'm pretty sure that they'll be comin' soon, and to your buildin', too." "What are you going to do when they do?" "I don't know. I'd like to say that I'm not gonna give 'em nothing, but who knows? If they got Petey to pay up, then I don't know. He's a tough buckaroo, and he paid. What about you, Jack?" "I don't know either. I guess I'll have to wait and see." They both sit on the bench, in silence, Jack puffing on his cigar and Hal staring into the distance, until Jack breaks the silence. "Did you ever hear of Aesop?" "Aesop who? Where does he live?" replies Hal in a perplexed tone. "No, Aesop was a famous, old Greek story writer. He said, 'United we stand, divided we fall.'" Again, they both sit silently for a moment. "Do you know what that means, Hal?" "Yeah, sure, you gotta stick together, or you're done for." "Right." Momentary silence again. "Who are we gonna unite, and what are we gonna do? We're all old guys." "We're old, but we're not dead and we're not stupid," replies Jack. There is another pause. "Did you ever play bocce, Hal?" "No." "Would you like to learn? There's a bocce court down at the other end of the park, and nobody ever uses it. I've got the balls. Let's go down tomorrow, and I'll show you how to play." "I guess it's gotta be better than sit in here all day," agrees Hal. "And, Hal, ask Petey to come too, okay?" "Sure," answers Hal. The next day they arrive at the park. "Hey, Hal, you made it. And you brought Petey with you too?" "Yeah. Jack, this is Petey. Petey, meet Jack." The men shake hands. Petey is short and stocky, with a waist circumference exceeding his chest size. He looks like a former bodybuilder who hasn't seen the inside of a gym in years, but has still managed to retain some of the assets of his long-past appearance. His arms and shoulders look strong, and have somehow maintained the muscular sculpting of his former weightlifting days. He has a round face and deep-set eyes, with dark wrinkly turtle skin, as he likes to call it, below each of his eyes. He has large hands covered with liver spots. His hair is thin, wispy, and receding, yet it covers his entire head. When he speaks, it is in a raspy, growling voice, which camouflages his relatively mild disposition. "You guys ready for some bocce lessons?" asks Jack. "Guess so. You know, when I was a kid I used to ride my bike down to the park in the summer and watch all the old Italian guys play bocce. They spent the whole day there, puffing those short little cigars, telling stories, and playing. Some would play bocce while others played pinochle on the picnic tables. Then they'd switch back and forth. They used to let me play once in a while. That's how I learned. It was a lot of fun, so I saved up my money and bought a bocce set. Here, let me show you. It's kinda like bowling and horseshoes combined." Jack takes out the balls. "I've had these since I was a kid. See this little one? It's the Polino. The first player throws the Polino, Then he throws a second, a bigger ball, and tries to get as close as he can to the Polino. Then, the next guy throws and tries to get even closer. The guy who's furthest away always gets the next shot, until we run out of balls. Closest to the Polino gets 1 point for each. 13 wins. They begin to play. Hal tells me you live over by him, in the gray brick building, inquires Jack. Yeah, been there for about 3 years now, replies Petey. How is it? Are you kiddin'? It's like all the other places in this neighborhood. It's for shit. But, everybody's gotta live somewhere, and I guess this is it for us, sighs Petey. How'd you wind up here? Jack continues to question. I wound up broke, that's how. Not a pot to piss in. Hal told me that you were in Special Forces during Nam. How long were you in the service? About 18 years. And you didn't get a good pension? Asked Jack curiously. That's a long story. A long, sad story. We've got all afternoon, replies Jack. I don't even want to talk about it. Petey pauses, then speaks again. Let Hal tell ya. He knows the whole thing. Jack turns to Hal and sees him getting an approving glance from Petey. Then Hal begins. When Petey was in Nam, he had a commanding officer and well, they didn't see eye to eye about a lot of stuff. Stuff? Interjects Jack. What kind of stuff? Treatment of the civilians. One day, a girl in the village they'd secured came to Petey, and told him the lieutenant had forced her into sex. He told her that if she said anything, her whole family would wind up as collateral damage, if you know what I mean. Sure I do, replies Jack. Hal continues. Petey is a no bullshit guy, so he went right up to the lieutenant, and told him face to face what the kid had said. The lieutenant's reply was, why do you give a shit about a little gook kid, anyway? You gotta learn to mind your own fucking business, unless you want problems. He never denied it. He just threatened Petey to keep his mouth shut. Well, Petey's not the kind of guy that's gonna back off, so he told the lieutenant he was going higher up with this stuff. Hal pauses. And? Presses Jack. The lieutenant went back to the girl, and forced her to accuse Petey of doing what he had done. That was before Petey got the chance to report it higher. So, what happened? Asked Jack eagerly. Petey interjects, I did 3 years in the brig and got kicked out of the service. That's what happened. Then he continues the story where Hal left off. Shay. That was the guy's name. He got the girl to testify against me, and he got some of the guys in our company to say it was true too. From what I heard later on, he told them, if you don't go with me and say what I tell you, you'll be the point man on every mission from here on out. You know what that means, it'll probably be a short timer. Going home real soon, in a box. So, they all got scared real quick. They went along with Shay, and I got my 3 years. He pauses and swallows hard. And here's the bitch of it, Petey continues in a bitter tone, he wound up in the Pentagon, a full bird colonel. I heard he retired a couple of years ago with a nice pension, the whole deal. And what happened to you? Jack asks soberly. How did you wind up here? When I got out of the service, well, kicked out, I went looking for a job. But what kind of job are you gonna get with my record? Not a good one, that's for sure. So, I kinda bounced around from one shitty job to the next, and I finally wound up here. Broke. Never got a military pension, of course. They took my chance at that when they put me behind bars. All I got is some social security, and not even very much of that. Sounds like you really got a screw-in, interjects Jack once again. I'd say so. And, you know what? I think about it every goddamn day. I don't know what's worse, what happened or just thinking about it day after day after day. I kinda know what you mean, agrees Jack. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do about it now, sighs Petey. Maybe not, but I'm not so sure, replies Jack while resuming the bocce game. Then, he turns to Hal. Hey, you know Hal, you never told me how life treated you. We talked a lot, but every time I brought it up you kinda danced around it. Since we're all here spilling out our guts, I think it's your turn now. Ain't my turn. No use whining 'bout things gone by, Hal replies in resignation. I don't think anybody's whining. Just telling like it is. What do you think, Petey? I guess I showed you mine, now maybe you should show us yours, Hal, Petey responds. Hal answers. Well, I suppose, but there ain't a hell of a lot to tell. I grew up down south and we didn't have shit. Dad got sick and we lived on Social Security. He got what the doctor called dementia. He was a pretty old guy when I was born, and Ma, she couldn't work. She had to take care of him. She wasn't gonna put him in any home, and I didn't blame her. The homes in those days were run by the state. They were all pretty poor, and the ones where black folks went were the worst. Wasn't no visiting nurse neither, not in those days, not where we lived. After a while, the money we were getting just wasn't enough, so she had to get a job. She used to lock the old man in the bedroom, go to work, and hope for the best. How about your brothers and sisters? Asks Petey. Couldn't they help out? Got no brothers or sisters. Anyway, the town we lived near was a good old southern football town. When you went to high school, you was expected to play, unless you was crippled. Everybody had to play. They'd won 32 games in a row when I got there, and were state champs 5 years straight. So, did you play? Interrupts Jack. Are you kiddin'? 210 pounds, 6'2". I didn't have much of a choice, don't you think? Ma didn't want me to play. She was always worried that I'd get real hurt, and I could understand that. One person she loved being a mess was all she could take. But, she finally agreed to let me play, and I did like it. I was good at it too. I don't mean to be braggin', but real good. All-state, 3 years runnin'. Still got the Russian record at my high school 45 years later. When I got out of high school, I had a bunch of college offers. I went to state, 'cause it was close to home, and I could help out Ma when I had to. In the end, it didn't make a lot of difference 'cause Dad died before I even started college. Hal pauses for a moment. Well, anyway, like I was sayin', I got a scholarship to state. Well, they called it a scholarship, but I kinda saw it as a contract to play football. I don't remember seeing the inside of too many classrooms, but I do remember seeing lots of locker rooms. I played for 4 years and started 3 of them. I was second-team All-American as a senior. Then, after the season was over, when I was a senior, I got a certificate of attendance. No diploma, just the okie dokie handshake, and a certificate of attendance. You know, in those days, that was generally the way things worked. Most all the guys I played with got the same deal. I went home and got a job driving a bulldozer. That was about the best I could do, and, believe it or not, that was a pretty good job in my town. I guess I only got it 'cause I was kinda the local football hero. So, you became a heavy equipment operator all your life? Questioned Jack. Nah, only for a year or two. One day, I read in the paper about a guy I played with at state. He was playing pro ball and doing okay, so I decided to call my old coach and ask him to help me out. I knew I was better than that guy playing in the pros. Again, he pauses. And so? Prods Jack. Well, this was the 50s, you know. Coach told me that there wasn't too much room for a black guy in pro ball, unless you was like Jim Brown. What about the guy you saw in the paper, the guy you played with? Asks Petey. He was a white guy. So, then what? I got a factory job and worked there for 40 years. When the company got sold, the pension was sold off too. That happened a lot in those days. They'd buy a company, steal the pension money, and then collapse the company. Jack interrupts again. Do you have a family? Yeah, I raised a family. Wife died in '85 of cancer. My son lives in California. I keep in touch, but he's gotta live his own life too. He's doing all right, but not great. Anyway, I got my Social Security. They couldn't steal that, and I get food stamps and a little rent help from the government, so I'm hanging in. That's about it, and now, here I am. Hal finally concludes. It must really piss you off when you watch football today. Those guys making millions. Petey sympathizes. Born too soon, I guess, he replies, with a resigned tone and a sigh. But, that's the way it is. What can you do? With the bocce game now finished, they all walked home.